Welcome everyone to the next episode in our Night Springs series. If you are new, I recommend pausing and watching the introduction video which breaks down the nature of the TV show before proceeding further. With that out of the way, grab some popcorn and let's check out today's episode of Night Springs.
Tonight's episode, A Family Occasion. Journalist Alvin Derleth's trip to study the local customs of an insular community in Night Springs has been less than successful. Until tonight.
Well, I'm glad you changed your minds about this. Ancient customs, local mythology. My editor loves this kind of stuff.
Well, Mr. Derleth, we don't want to feel like we're on exhibition, but you have demonstrated the seriousness of your intent.
Oh, I am serious. Really, just do your thing. I'll stay out of your way and observe.
Actually, I thought you could assist us. I'm afraid we are a man short. It would provide you with an intimate perspective.
Could I really?
Of course, Mr. Derleth.
Well, I guess that's the least I... What would I have to do?
Oh, here. Let me show you with a kiss.
What did you...
Oh, Mr. Derleth, you have well pleased Nixie Perka, the dweller in flesh. Your body shall host his 1,000 young, and all shall be glory.
No!
Shh, darling, be calm. Shh.
Alvin Derleth learned a harsh lesson. If you go looking for mythology, it may come looking for you. And such quests always bear fruit. In Night Springs.
Alan Wake is not shy about his literary influences. The game begins with a Stephen King quote, and allusions to his work are found throughout. Echoes of Twin Peaks are all over the place. Night Springs itself is a reflection of the Twilight Zone. This episode, A Family Occasion, is overt in its goal of drawing parallels to H.P. Lovecraft. A journalist obsessed with folklore and local customs is invited to do more than observe. It leads him to being impregnated by some chthonic entity, a host for its 1,000 young. The name of the journalist is Alvin Derleth. This appears to be a direct reference to the author August Derleth. After H.P. Lovecraft's death, several authors took his notes and began publishing works that tied into and expanded upon the Cthulhu mythos, one of which was Derleth. It was suggested that he was more of an optimist than his deceased associate. Lovecraft's characters tended to suffer death or otherwise horrible endings. Derleth's characters usually survived with little to no repercussions. One could make the argument that despite being involved in the same mythology, the latter did not dip his toe fully into the darkness of this setting. The journalist Alvin Derleth was the same. He was fascinated by local customs and regional mythology, but only from a safe distance. His first intent was to stay out of the cultists' way and only observe, but through the seductions of a woman, he agreed to finally participate. This was his undoing. By looking into the abyss looks back at him. Despite the fascination in certain areas, some are not prepared for the consequences of diving into that dark lake head first. As the narrator says, if you go looking for mythology, it may come looking for you. Allusions to other works of fiction aside, this episode possibly has a link to other parts of the Remedy universe. In the Man in the Mirror episode, an entity is mentioned, who could be pulled off the shelf in future content. However, it is possible that the one mentioned in this episode has already appeared in the Remedy universe. We just did not notice at the time. Any extra-dimensional entity that is mentioned in this show should not be written off as bound by the events of the episode. The Dark Place has a way of making unconscious contents become real, especially if a large number of people are focused on it. Nixie Perka is an entity mentioned in A Family Occasion. The name itself is an Easter egg to a Finnish magazine named Perka. A section in the magazine allows readers to write in and have their home do-it-yourself tricks published. This segment is called a Nixie Perka. With this little reference aside, the titles of this entity is what I want to focus on. The title of Dweller in Flesh likely refers to it implanting its offspring into the body of a host, left there to develop and grow before bursting forth its thousand young. The term thousand young seems far too similar to a certain creature in Lovecraft's mythos, the cosmic entity with the title of the Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young, Shub-Niggurath. This outer god is associated with fertility and fills the role of a twisted and demonic mother deity. In some of the stories, she is referred to as the All-Mother. In the Cthulhu mythos, she is one of the most worshipped entities. By looking at some of the cults surrounding Shub-Niggurath, we see shocking similarities to the entity of Nixie Perka from Night Springs. For both entities, the use of the phrase 1,000 young is present. Shub-Niggurath is worshipped by various groups including the Hyperboreans, the Sarnath, and the Movians. Nixie Perka is worshipped by what can only be described as a small cult living in an isolated community within Night Springs. Cults devoted to the worship of Shub-Niggurath would provide sacrifices to her. This involved ritualistically summoning forth her dark young, who then consumed the sacrifice on behalf of their mother. The reporter in Night Springs became a host for these very same offspring who may have consumed his body once they were born. Throughout this series on Night Springs, my intention is to theorize on how these narratives can influence the rest of the Remedyverse, both future stories and previous ones. The next detail regarding the so-called All-Mother was held for last because of its relevance. If I told you that those who consumed the milk of Shub-Niggurath were mutated into fierce and violent creatures, what is the first thing that pops into your head? What entity existing in the Remedy setting does this remind you of? If the Not Mother came to mind, then you are not alone. During the ordinary AWE, one of the projected realities put Jesse, Dylan, and the other children into contact with an entity known as the Not Mother. During interviews with the siblings after the fact, the Bureau recorded this piece of information.
Tom and his troglodytes were using the Sled Hill Cave as their headquarters. That's where the projector was. They'd been using the Temple Slide. We called it that, but really it was a broken concrete thing, like a warehouse, or a bomb shelter, or something. Very dark. The Not Mother lived there with her babies. Children, I don't know. She was feeding Tom and the others her milk. They were changing into little monsters. We called them dung monkeys.
The Temple, a place of worship that the Not Mother resides in. If both the milk of the Not Mother and the milk of the All Mother have the power to transform the drinker into monsters, do you think there's a link? Since Nixie Perka and Shub-Niggurath are nearly direct parallels, is it possible that this episode of Night Springs directly references that entity that Jesse and Dylan met? Are all three of them fractal echoes of one another and serve the same narrative role? Is Nixie Perka simply another name for the Not Mother? The ordinary AWE occurred in 2002. While we do not know when this episode first aired, do you think it is possible that Night Springs inspired the genesis of the monster involved in Ordinary? Do you think the monster existed before this event and Night Springs simply captured it in a story, the writer having been inspired by something real without knowing it, possibly through dreams or intuition? Or do you think this is purely a coincidence and not at all related? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this. For now, that concludes this breakdown of the Night Springs episode, A Family Occasion. See you next time. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please drop a like and subscribe to receive updates on future uploads. If you would like to help support the channel, a Patreon has been set up and the link is in the description below. Have a great day and peace be with you all.